Hi everybody, happy Monday. So we're going to continue our conversation around hormonal shifts in women's lives by talking about menopause this week. Last week we discussed perimenopause, and those of you who know me well know that menopause and perimenopause is just something that is one of my passion research projects because of my own health journey and experiences. And I am just floored that it is also one of the least understood and researched areas of health in general, but especially women's health. So I'm on a mission to learn as much as I can about what happens in these beautiful bodies of ours, to help women not be afraid of the inevitable hormonal shifts that are going to happen as they progress in life, and also things that you can do if you're not there yet to set you up to ease through those transitions a lot easier. That's actually the most ideal situation. All right, so I'm going to share a few tidbits. I'm going to focus on things that you may not be aware of when it comes to menopausal shifts, and these things are also relevant for perimenopause. And then stick with me throughout the week. You know the drill. You'll get a blog post on Thursday with specific tips and best practices to apply some of the things I talked about today. All right, so first I want to talk about your adrenals. So when you're thinking about menopause, the hormones we most think about are estrogen, generally. Sometimes a little bit of progesterone if you are a bit more educated. But total well-being at menopause depends just as much on adequate levels of progesterone, as well as DHEA and testosterone. And those are two what we call androgen hormones, and they're produced by the ovaries, but also by your adrenal glands. Many of us don't realize that your adrenal glands are a source of many of the hormones that often tend to decline in perimenopause. But we don't hear as much about these hormones in general when it comes to menopause. And so androgenic hormones, testosterone and progesterone, especially testosterone, is associated with your sexual response and libido. So as you get older and start to go through the transition, if you are just less interested in sex and have a lower sex drive, that usually is directly correlated to plummeting testosterone levels. It's normal. And they also are associated with just general well-being and just feeling good. And many women who are going through perimenopause and menopause have unexplained, I just don't feel great, right? I have all these little things. Usually that is most correlated to plummeting progesterone and testosterone levels. And what's interesting is that they're produced not just by the ovaries, as I mentioned, but by other organs and body sites: the adrenal glands, the skin, the muscles, the brain, the pineal gland. And interestingly, as hormone production from the ovaries decline at menopause, a twofold increase in production of those androgenic hormones from these other sources takes place. In fact, your body has the ability to make hormones throughout your entire life, since androgens can also act as weak estrogens and can be precursors for the production of estrogens, even when the ovaries are declining in their production of estrogen. And so when you understand this, you learn that women who are able to produce adequate levels of androgens in their bodies through these other sources that are not your ovaries often are the ones who are sailing through menopause with little to no symptoms. But what's rarely discussed then in menopause is the state of your adrenal glands. So focus on that for a second. Long story short, we were made to accommodate the decline in the ovaries and producing estrogen and progesterone by having built-in backup generators. Your adrenals is the number one of those generators. And as it senses the ovaries lessening their production of those hormones, it's going to then kick in and start to produce more, so that you don't have that sharp decline all of a sudden, but you're easing through it so easily you don't even notice it. That is the way we were designed for this to happen. But because by the time we reach the time where our body is starting to go through these changes, usually we're stressed out, our adrenals are shot, right? Most women and men do not have healthy adrenals. And without this production, then you suffer those hormonal withdrawals. It's kind of like a drug addict that goes cold turkey, right? You feel crappy. And so this is so critical, because if you are not yet perimenopausal or menopausal, now is the time to nurture your adrenals and get them in as good a shape as you possibly can, because it will work wonders for the experience that you have as you begin to go through hormonal transition. If you are in that phase, it's not too late. But one of the key things to really understand and focus on is adrenal functioning. And if your adrenals are not functioning well, which again, 95% of ours are not, there are some very specific things that you can do to nurture them and support them and improve functioning, where you will see a direct correlation to your improvement of your symptoms as you progress through perimenopause and menopause. Okay, so a couple other things that I'm gonna share and then I'm gonna let you go. So, hot flashes, probably the number one symptom that's associated with menopause, one of the most uncomfortable symptoms. So I want to share a couple of tidbits there. So the part of the brain that regulates temperature responds to both estrogen and adrenaline, that stress hormone that's released from your adrenal glands. And we know that if the adrenaline level is normal or low, then your estrogen can be either high or low. It doesn't matter. You will not have a hot flash. Research shows that. But if your adrenaline level is chronically high, i.e. you're stressed out, any drop in estrogen will trigger a flash. And since many of us, again, live busy, hectic lives, our adrenal hormones tend to be out of balance all the time. So as soon as your estrogen starts to fall, this cascade of reactions kicks in and you start to get hot flashes. And again, this is why it's so important to look at adrenal functioning as well as estrogen levels when trying to manage menopausal symptoms. And then the last piece we're going to talk about is diet-related flashes. Also, pretty easy to explain. We know that when we eat sugary, starchy foods, our glucose levels go up. And so this makes our insulin kick in to control it. We know that process happens normally in the body. When insulin rises though, what else do you think rises? Yes, cortisol, stress hormone. And when it goes up and there's no estrogen around to balance it because it's declining as a byproduct of natural menopause, it triggers the same flashing that the adrenaline does. So if your mind is blown, as mine was as I started to learn these things, comment in the chat, let me know what other questions you have, set up a one-on-one health strategy session with me if you are experiencing menopause or perimenopause symptoms, or you think you may, and you need some help navigating through it. I'm your girl. Bye everybody, have a great week.